You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
We have to really give Burgess Meredith a lot of credit here because he does such a great job in 26 minutes of showing us layers. And I love that line where he's like,
if there were just something to do.
You're starting to see the cracks. Like that delivery of that line is showing you like he's not altogether right.
There's such desperation that it makes perfect sense when he picks up that gun.
I'm sure I'll be forgiven for this. The way things are. I know I'll be forgiven.
There's something else to this episode, too.
You, Mr. Bemis, are a reader.
A reader?
It's said in a way that's so derogatory because really his reading, his passion for reading is an addiction. And there's some moments in this episode where it's very obvious that this could be symbolic of any type of addiction, whether it's alcohol, drugs, or gambling, for example.
Last November, you spent the better part of the days reading campaign buttons on customers' lapels. You will recall, Bemis, the young lady who took considerable exception to this and tried to hit you with her umbrella.
I never got a chance to tell her that I was only looking to see who she voted for.
This, to me, is so symbolic of what often happens when people are under the influence and behave badly. And in this instance, it's completely innocent, but that end result is still there. Then there's the other moment when he's talking to Mr. Carswell and he says,
it's just that my wife won't let me read at home. And then after dinner, if I try to find a magazine, she hides them.
And you hear this with spouses trying to get their loved ones out of addiction and family members. They will actually hide whatever it is that the person who has the addictive behaviors is trying to seek. And he says this great line about,
I got so desperate that I found myself trying to read the labels on the condiment bottles. And then now she won't even let me use the ketchup.
You have to be desperate because back in 1959, I feel like the condiment bottles probably only had like 3 or 4 ingredients.
If that, no nutritional value, like no like breakdown of the numbers. And the thing is, like, Henry's not so innocent, is he? Like, he is taking a nip here or there. He's hiding it in his coat pocket. He's hiding it under the recliner cushion. He's taking it where he can get it. He's lying and he's doing poorly at work.
Mr. Bemis, you've shortchanged me again. You owe me $1 more.
The signs of like somebody who's severely addicted and, you know, trying to get what they want at the expense of other people.
I think about how it must have been for Helen, his wife. You know, she comes in and she's yelling at him and she's nagging him. We got to go over to the neighbors and play cards. But I think about how much he must have disappointed her because he laughs about,
I won't tolerate a husband of mine sacrificing the art of conversation. All right. What's so funny?
But you said a husband of mine. Well, how many husbands have you got? You've only got me.
I would appreciate that not being rubbed in.
It's presented in a way where she's a villain, but is she actually really a villain? Or has he betrayed her so many times with this addiction that now she's also broken and she just fights in the only way that she knows how, which is to take his one thing that he cares about away from him.
I did take her as a villain and being, you know, ultimately evil by what she does to him. But Henry is her origin story. He is what drove her to that, as you say. Like, I don't think that she inherently was that awful person. But yeah, like something was taken from her as well. And it led to her feeling like, okay, I need to punish this person who punished me.
We would be remiss not to talk about the special effects that are in this episode. The director won an award for the sets that were used in this episode. And I'm just curious because this is your first time actually seeing it, right? You admitted, hey, I'm very familiar with this episode because it's part of the zeitgeist. But what was it like for you with all the special effects we have today with characters that are fully CGI? What was it like for you to actually see this episode and see the 1959 depiction of a nuclear aftermath?
I'm going to give it the highest compliment that when I was watching the episode, it was seamless to the point where I didn't even think about like, oh, that's really good set design. That's really good special effects, because it pulls you into the moment and you're like, he's in the wasteland and he like, look at that rubble. Like it looks, what we come to expect to this day. And for it to have been made in 1959 is really impressive.
The first time I saw this episode, I was probably 10 or 11 years old. I was completely taken away by it. Obviously, I didn't know about radiation at that age. So I was going along the journey with Henry Bemis, not thinking about radiation poisoning.
I mean, I still went along with it. And it's 2024 and I'm like, radiation. But no, that man's walking through the wasteland. It's totally fine.
And you know what? That says it all, doesn't it?